The missile attack on Pervomaiskyi, a town in the Kharkiv region, has resulted in damage to nearly 2,000 apartments and several infrastructure facilities. Pervomaiskyi's mayor, Mykola Bakhshayev, reported on Telegram that approximately 2,000 residences, a kindergarten, a school, and a courthouse sustained damage from the strike. Many inhabitants have suffered varying degrees of personal property damage. He mentioned that construction kits for repairing doors and windows would be distributed soon. Those with damaged homes will also receive humanitarian aid, including food kits and potable water. On July 4th, at around 13:35, Russian forces bombarded Pervomaiskyi. The regional prosecutor's office stated that an Iskander missile was fired by the invaders. This act of terror resulted in 43 casualties, including 12 children, 2 of which are infants. Medical staff confirmed that the condition of a 10-month-old boy admitted to the ICU has stabilized. Other children suffered minor shrapnel wounds, bruises, and scratches. As of the morning of July 5th, 7 victims are still receiving treatment in hospitals. The missile attack resulted in damage to windows, balconies, and doors in 8 apartment buildings, and 8 cars were destroyed. 7 individuals remain in hospital following a missile strike by Russian forces on Pervomaiskyi, a town in Kharkiv Oblast, on July 4, 2023. Oleh Sinehubov, the head of the Kharkiv Oblast Military Administration, shared this information on Telegram on July 5, 2023. The missile attack targeted a residential area where a military award ceremony was taking place. Approximately 200 civilians were attending the ceremony, according to eyewitness reports. 5 individuals in Pervomaiskyi are in moderately serious condition, mostly due to shrapnel injuries, Sinehubov reported. A woman who sustained an eye injury during the attack has been hospitalized in Kharkiv with her condition classified as moderately serious. A 1-year-old child is currently receiving treatment at a medical institution, and their condition is also considered to be moderately serious. Sinehubov also mentioned that the attack resulted in damage to 8 multi-story buildings and caused several vehicles to catch fire. Reports indicate that the missile strike in Pervomaiskyi, Kharkiv Oblast, resulted in 43 casualties, including 12 children, 2 of whom are infants. The Russian armed forces are believed to have used an Iskander ballistic missile in the attack. The Iskander M variant of this missile has a circular error probable, CEP, a statistical measure of accuracy, of 5-7 meters. This means there's a 50% chance the missile will land within 5-7 meters of its intended target, and a more than 90% chance it will land within a radius of 10-14 meters. These precision-guided weapons are designed to minimize collateral damage by hitting their targets with high accuracy, but their use in populated areas can still result in civilian casualties, as seems to be the case with the strike on Pervomaiskyi. Ukraine's defense forces persist in their aggressive maneuvers across the Bakhmut, Melitopol, and Berdiansk sectors. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine's representative, Andriy Kovalyov, shared this update during a broadcast on United News Telethon, as covered by Ukrinform. Kovalyov explained that the Ukrainian defense forces are unyieldingly executing offensive operations in the aforementioned areas. The forces have managed to maintain their presence along the established front lines, deploying artillery strikes on confirmed enemy locations. Kovalyov further detailed that the Ukrainian troops are persistently driving forward in the Bakhmut region. Specifically, they are exerting pressure on enemy forces to the north and south of the city of Bakhmut, pushing them from their previously seized positions. Ukraine's defense forces have seen some degree of victory in the vicinity of Klishchivka, solidifying their positions along the new front lines. Kovalyov also highlighted the ongoing efforts of the defense forces to restrain the encroachment of Russian troops in the Lyman, Avdiivka, and Marinka regions. Ukrinform's report also reveals that in the last 24 hours, the Air Force of the Defense Forces has carried out 13 strikes on clusters of Russian forces, launched 3 strikes on anti-aircraft missile systems, and aimed 1 strike at a command post. Ukraine's defense forces are making notable advancements towards Bakhmut, according to Oleksandr Syrsky, the commander of the land forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. This information was disclosed on his Telegram channel, as Ukrinform has reported. Siersky shared a video and commented that the 10th Edelweiss Brigade's assault units are actively engaging Russian positions on the northern fringes of Bakhmut. He reported that a significant number of enemy troops have been neutralized and several areas have been reclaimed. Earlier, Andriy Kovalev, the spokesperson for the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, had confirmed that Ukrainian defense forces are unrelenting in their offensive in the Bakhmut, Melitopol, and Berdiansk sectors. According to Kovalev, the Ukrainian armed forces are aggressively pushing ahead in the Bakhmut region. Specifically, to the northern and southern areas of Bakhmut, the troops are pressuring the enemy forces, pushing them back from the borders they had previously seized. Kovalev also revealed that the defense forces have achieved some success in the region of Klishchivka, where they are securing their positions along the recently established front lines. Oleksiy Hromov, the deputy chief of the main operational directorate of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, has highlighted that the Russian military is intensively readying for defensive maneuvers in Crimea. In an interview on July 5th, he gave details about their preparations. Hromov stated that the fortification work in the peninsula's northern part is nearing completion, and an airborne defense system is being established along the northwestern and western coastlines of Crimea. These measures are apparently in place to deter possible land invasions by the Ukrainian armed forces. In spite of these observations, Hromov noted that there is no confirmed information regarding the evacuation of the Russian military personnel's families from the peninsula. However, he indicated that should there be a perceived threat to the Crimean Bridge, or if the Ukrainian military advances towards the Perekop and Chonhar isthmuses, a significant exodus of people attempting to leave Crimea could be anticipated. The Institute for the Study of War, ISW, has suggested in its July 4th assessment that Ukraine's counteroffensive rate doesn't hint at a deadlock or an incapability to regain vast territories. ISW analysis points out that the steady advances made by the Ukrainian military in the eastern and southern regions signify a strategy that prioritizes resource preservation over territorial gains. Oleksiy Danilov, the Secretary of the Defense Council, amplified this viewpoint on Twitter, stating that the primary strategic aim is the maximum destruction of Russian personnel and equipment. He equated this war of destruction to a war of kilometers. Admiral Rob Bauer, the chair of NATO's military committee, has expressed his agreement with Ukraine's cautious approach. He reminded reporters of the landmines and other challenges Ukrainian forces are encountering as they move deeper into the Russian-held territory, and lauded Ukraine's efforts to avoid high casualty numbers. One should never assume that this is a simple task, Bauer emphasized. Despite the slow pace, the counteroffensive has resulted in territorial advancements for Ukraine. Hanna Maliar, the deputy defense minister, revealed on Telegram that in the past week, Ukrainian forces have liberated 9 kilometers in the eastern sector and 28 kilometers in the south, drawing parallels with past strategies. The ISW likened Ukraine's current counteroffensive to its previous campaign to liberate the Kherson Oblast between August and November 2022, where a slow offensive eventually led to the successful liberation of Kherson. Ukrainian authorities have acknowledged facing severe opposition from Russian forces, while making measured progress in the eastern and southern regions. According to a senior security official, the Ukrainian counteroffensive against Russian forces has recently been especially successful. Oleksiy Danilov, the leader of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, offered these remarks as the latest optimistic appraisal of the month-long counterassault from Kyiv. However, Moscow has yet to recognize any of Ukraine's advancements. Hanna Maliar, Ukraine's deputy defense minister, also noted progress around the devastated eastern city of Bakhmut, despite intense Russian resistance. Russian forces seized control of the city in May following 10 months of conflict. Ukraine's defense forces are currently focused on their primary objective: the maximum elimination of personnel, equipment, fuel depots, military vehicles, command posts, artillery, and air defense forces of the Russian army, Danilov posted on Twitter. He claimed that the past few days have been notably successful, but did not elaborate further on the conditions on the battleground. The Ukrainian forces are in the initial stages of their campaign to reclaim territories occupied by the Russians since their large-scale invasion began in February 2022. They are battling obstacles like minefields, anti-tank ditches and other barriers, as well as fortified defensive lines that reportedly extend up to 20 kilometers, 12 miles, deep in certain locations. The Institute for the Study of War, an ISW, a think tank based in Washington, D.C., observed in its most recent assessment, the Danilov's comments seem to underscore an ongoing strategy to wear down Russian personnel and resources, rather than attempting to carry out vast, rapid mechanized operations to swiftly retake significant amounts of territory. Previously, Malier mentioned on July 3rd that Ukraine had liberated approximately 37.4 square kilometers, 14.4 square miles, of territory in the eastern and southern Ukraine over the preceding week. The current pace of Ukrainian operations does not suggest a deadlock or that Ukraine is incapable of recapturing extensive regions, the ISW stated. In the southern region, advancements were reported by Valery Shershin, spokesperson for the Tavria, Southern Military Command. He stated that Ukrainian troops had made headway of up to 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles, in the Berdiansk direction, despite strong Russian opposition. As of July 4th, Ukraine's Culture Ministry reported that since the inception of Russia's full-scale invasion, 1,582 Ukrainian cultural landmarks, including 598 libraries, have suffered damages. The ministry revealed that as of June 26th, close to a third of these damaged sites, totaling 585, have been nearly completely obliterated. Earlier estimates by the Ukrainian government, the World Bank, the European Commission, and the United Nations assessed that Russia's war has inflicted more than $2 billion worth of damages to Ukraine's cultural heritage. In the past month alone, the tally of damaged cultural landmarks increased by 62, with 40% of these reported in the Kherson Oblast. The ministry pointed out that the most severe damage to the cultural infrastructure has been observed in the Donetsk, Kherson, Kharkiv, Kiev, Mykolaiv, Zaporizhzhia, and Luhansk oblasts. Apart from libraries, other institutions such as museums, galleries, theaters, and arts education facilities have been heavily affected. The Culture Ministry is maintaining an ongoing count of the number of lost cultural sites. They underscored the challenges posed by the ongoing occupation of almost all of Luhansk and significant portions of Kherson, Zaporizhzhia, and Donetsk oblasts in accurately determining the total number of cultural landmarks lost. In an update on July 5th, Colonel General Oleksandr Syrsky, the commander of the Ukrainian ground forces, reported that Ukrainian troops are launching attacks on Russian positions near the conflict-ridden town of Bakhmut in Donetsk Oblast. This update was shared via a post on Telegram. Syrsky also posted video footage showcasing an assault on adversary fortifications in the vicinity of Bakhmut. Syrsky highlighted the actions of the 10th Edelweiss Brigade's assault units, stating, "They are launching an offensive on Russian positions on Bakhmut's northern fronts." He confirmed the recapture of several territories and a significant reduction in enemy forces. The shared footage depicts Ukrainian military personnel executing precise strikes on enemy positions. Simultaneously, according to Andrei Kovalyov, a spokesperson for the Ukrainian General Staff, the defense forces are progressing towards the village of Klishchiyevka, located south of Bakhmut. Kovalyov reported intense combat activity in that region on July 5th. Multiple videos circulating on social media on the evening of July 4th show a significant explosion in Makiivka, a region in Donetsk Oblast currently under occupation. The absence of secondary detonations in the footage suggests that the blast likely originated from a local oil depot catching fire. The Ukrainian armed forces have released an official statement concerning the explosion in Makiivka. They confirmed that a supply depot operated by the enemy was utterly obliterated. In a post on Telegram, the Strategic Communications Division of the Ukrainian Armed Forces stated, "The efficient use of firepower by the defense forces has resulted in the eradication of another depot used by Russian militants in the temporarily occupied Makiivka. Reports of a blast resonating throughout the temporarily occupied city of Berdiansk have surfaced. This was confirmed by the Berdiansk Telegram channel, according to Ukrinform's correspondent. The report stated, The sound of sirens can be heard near the port. Local residents of Berdiansk have reported hearing the sound of an explosion reverberating throughout the city. Russian occupying forces have claimed that the activation of air defense systems is the cause. It's noteworthy that on the evening of July 4, 2023, there was a significant explosion near Makiivka, another city in the Donetsk region currently under temporary occupation. The Kremlin has expressed concerns about the escalating situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, alleging that Kyiv poses a significant risk of causing sabotage. Simultaneously, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Moscow of inciting dangerous provocations at the occupied power plant. Russia's defense ministry has reported that their forces have launched attacks on 3 Ukrainian army groups near Bakhmut, indicating an intensification of combat in the eastern region. Moreover, the United Nations has voiced its apprehensions about the longevity of the grain exports agreement, warning that its potential collapse in a fortnight could have dire consequences for global food security.